Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are reading from the book Meditation and Spiritual Life by Swami Yatiswarananda. We are currently in the chapter titled Reactions to Sadhana. Reactions to Sadhana, chapter 29. Starting the section, The Pilgrim's Progress. The whole course of our life is to be changed. We must undo what we have done. We have, as it were, thrown our friends out and then allowed our enemies to come in and live with us. So there should be counteractions and counter thoughts to undo our former bad actions and thoughts, not only during our spiritual practice, but also at other times. The task is a long and difficult one and requires great heroism and perseverance. Spiritual life is not a bed of roses, but a real uphill task. Our human personality consists of both good and evil. The evil is to be eliminated step by step and the good fostered. In the course of the evolution of the soul, both good and evil come up. The aspirant should face the reality and stimulate the higher expressions of life. Let us profit even by our mistakes, and instead of brooding over them too much, let us strengthen ourselves and avoid their recurrence by all the means in our power. If we slip, let it make us humble and more dependent on the Divine, who is the real source of our strength and support. Everyone in the East or in the West has to pass through struggles. In the East, the spiritual and ethical culture has been maintained in an unbroken way. This helps some aspirants, no doubt, but there are many who do not profit by it at all. So it is no use complaining that in the West spiritual life is very difficult. What is difficult is your own nature, and you have got to change it somehow or other. During the course of the soul's progress, instinctive goodness passes through conscious goodness with struggle, and then to natural goodness without any conflict. So conscious struggle is a stage in our evolution and does not necessarily mean a setback. This, however, does not justify all forms of backsliding. Partial success in our moral and spiritual life gives us an incentive towards greater and greater success. But it should never make us think that perfection has been attained. It means that although we have made some progress in purifying ourselves by controlling our lower nature and tendencies, much of the impurities and evil tendencies are still there and are to be controlled and finally eliminated. All along the period of our ethical and spiritual practice, we must have an abiding faith in our potentialities, in our capacity to move nearer and nearer to our goal. But we should never take the potential to be actual unless it has been fully realized in life, unless it has brought about a complete transformation in our thoughts and activities. Mere dreaming of spiritual experience is not enough. We may dream of getting lots of money, but we should always bear in mind that with the money we get in a dream, it is not possible for us to buy food and appease our hunger in the actual world. We sow the wind and we have got to reap it as a whirlwind. All the suppressed whirlwinds will come up. All the bad pictures lying hidden in the mind will get developed sooner or later. We have got to face the brute, quote unquote, face the brute, see things as they are, and then see the divine in all things. So there's a footnote for the phrase, face the brute. There's an anecdote connected with this phrase. One day in the course of his wanderings all over India, as Swami Vivekananda was returning from the temple of Mother Durga in Banaras, he was pursued by a troop of monkeys. He had first tried to flee, fearing that they might harm him. But the monkeys came on his heels. Suddenly, he heard the voice of an old sannyasin calling out to him, "Stop! Always face the brutes." Swamiji turned, his fear gone, and seeing him defiant, the monkey scurried away. Years later, in a lecture given in New York, he referred to the incident and pointed out the moral in the story. Moral of the story. This is a lesson for all life. Face the terrible, face it boldly. Like the monkeys, the hardships of life fall back when we cease to flee before them. This is from the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, published in 1970, volume 1, page 338 to 339. So again, we have got to, quote, face the brute, unquote, see things as they are, and then see the divine in all things. In him is all this play of Maya going on, hiding him altogether from our view. We have got to see through this Maya. Our spiritual practice, which includes also the performance of the duties of life, enables us to develop a sort of mental X-ray by virtue of which we are able to see the phenomenal nature of things and also the reality appearing as the phenomenon. It is a hard, long struggle which appears to be never-ending. The more we advance, the subtler and stronger becomes the struggle. And in the course of the merciless self-analysis which we have to pass through, most awful things are revealed, things to which ordinarily we give big, high-sounding names. Our so-called selfless relationships and human feelings and sentiments are more or less based on the lower self. Even our love for God, devotion for Godmen, and affection for fellow devotees are to a great extent based on selfish considerations. But at the root of all these, there is always a divine element which is mixed up with much of non-divine things. The gold is to be separated from the dross. That is the task of spiritual life. By noticing the different elements in our sentiments and also the reactions of these sentiments on the mind and the centers of consciousness, we can very often find out their true quality and value. Feelings associated with the higher centers may get connected to lower thought planes and may even be debased into passions of the worst kind. Hence, we must always be on our guard during our association with people. And men and women, as you know, are not always what they seem to be. The more we study ourselves and others with great scrutiny, the more do we realize this fact, sometimes to our sorrow. Here is an important point to note. When we judge ourselves, we should always take as the standard our weakest point and not the strongest. Just as the strength of a chain depends on its weakest link, so our weakness determines our spiritual progress, our joys and sorrows. We should not be too proud or overconfident about our strong qualities. Many of our difficulties come from this source. Let us make the best use of our time even when we pass through a period of uncertainty. When the power of evil becomes too strong, we have to wait until it exhausts itself to some extent. Knowing that better days are ahead of us, let us carry on with normal duties of life and our spiritual practice. Let us make the best use of the divine grace bestowed on us and try to attain something stable and permanent in our life, so that we may hold on to that when we feel that the grace is withdrawn from us temporarily. Do not seek security and peace in the phenomenal world. It is always changing. If you seek happiness in it, you cannot avoid getting unhappiness also. Really speaking, we have no security on the plane of mere sentiments, however essential they may be for the evolution of our soul. Our feelings must be based on the divine consciousness and also connected with it. Then alone do we get real stability and become free from fear. Of course, we can attain to this ideal only by proceeding step by step, by passing through many a failure and defeat. Next section, how to face spiritual struggles and reactions. Every one of us has got to pass through ups and downs, rises and falls. Let these changes bring home to us the necessity of rising higher and higher until we reach that state when we go beyond the gunas and attain to the transcendental. Go on with your spiritual practice regularly, steadily, without interruption, even if you don't feel any enthusiasm for it. By breaking your sadhana in the middle, you don't solve your problems. Interruptions only retard our progress. Whether you're in a good mood or not, spend at least 1 hour in the morning and again in the evening in meditation and prayer. The flow of your spiritual stream must be maintained. With an effort of the will, this can be done. Nay, it must be done. The aspirant must resist and insist. He must resist his inner impulse to stop his sadhana for some time and must insist on maintaining its continuity. Reactions and obstacles come as tests of our willpower. By overcoming them, we gain great strength of mind. The Lord's grace is on us, though we do not realize it. We should pray to Him to protect and guide us in the midst of all our strivings and struggles, and to take us nearer and nearer to Him. Prayer is an important aid. You can pray when you are unable to meditate in the proper way. This gives great inner solace, and we find our difficulties disappearing soon. Without worrying about small slips and falls, the aspirant should march onwards, making the divine the center of his being. To such devoted souls, failures are stepping stones to success. They pass through many a trial and come out of them victorious in the end. We must also try to intensify our faith in the divine, who, as Sri Ramakrishna very aptly says, comes towards us 10 steps if we try to move towards him 1 step. The mother allows the child to go on with the play, but she has to rush towards the child who, tired of the play, has begun to cry for her and crawl towards her. So this is from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, translated by Swami Nikhilananda, published in 1974, pages 79 and 179. Such is also the case with his devotees who want to approach him in their weak human ways. You may feel depressed at times. That is unavoidable. On such occasions, please try to establish the inner contact with the divine, and the mood of depression will be replaced by a higher mood. You should always try your best to maintain the inner contact with the divine. There may be a natural rise and fall in the mood, but if you try to remain in tune with the infinite, something of the higher mood will always remain with us. Even if it apparently disappears at times, do not feel upset. Calmly and quietly raise yourself to the higher plane of consciousness and re-establish the contact, and then everything will be all right. Sometimes, owing to our past impressions coming up to the conscious plane from the domain of the subconscious or unconscious, where they lie hidden, there may be a mental and even a physiological disturbance. This is very troublesome and annoying, but we should not get unbalanced. We must take things as they are, as they come, maintaining the attitude of a witness. We should try to see the divine in them, try to realize the eternal medium in which all sensations, all vibrations, all thoughts manifest themselves. And then the divine becomes real in the primary sense, and the forms appear to be shadows and lose their attraction and charm. When this is done, mental and physiological harmony are regained. If you find that your brain is getting clouded, pray to the divine and meditate on him. Try to feel that the real soul in you is like a divine spark that is a part of the infinite ocean of light, and then the higher mood will return again. We should try to hold on to the divine under all circumstances. Japa is of great help during periods of depression. One finds great relief in repeating the holy name audibly to oneself. You may hum it to yourself and also try to think of the divine when you feel an inner void and restlessness. When the bliss of realization is not available, we have to be satisfied with the joy of thinking of him, the beloved, the soul of our soul. During all these struggles, both on the gross and subtle planes, we should try to dwell on the holy thoughts as much as possible and thus drive away unholy ones. But sometimes our imaginations grow morbid and unholy pictures become very vivid in spite of ourselves. In such a case, while repeating the holy mantra and trying to visualize the holy form, we should take the position of a witness, sakshi, or spectator towards evil thoughts and detach ourselves from their entanglements. During the moments of forgetfulness, we may identify ourselves with the evil thoughts and feel affected both mentally and physically, though not actually doing anything bad. But as we become more and more watchful and practice non identification, we can keep them at a distance even when they make their appearance before us. When we are in a quote unquote personal mood and long to come in contact with human personalities, the divine personality gives us a great support. The bubble finds a great support from the wave when the ocean, which is more real than both the wave and the bubble, appears to be an abstraction. Through the touch of the wave, the bubble again becomes conscious of its connection with the ocean. But when we are in a quote unquote impersonal mood or find ourselves unable to establish contact with our chosen deity, we may practice the attitude of a witness. People who run away from the difficulties of life weaken themselves and become unfit for spiritual progress. Those who choose to face their troubles trusting in the divine feel great inward strength. If you have directly come in contact with the divine current and have also unfurled the sail of your devotion, the breeze of divine grace is sure to take you forward, even in the midst of the storms and tempests of the world, which are inevitable to everybody. The world is, after all, a training ground and not a pleasure garden, as we often wrongly suppose. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.